Hi, good evening, and welcome to my channel, Talk with Rose. So, what I originally started my channel as is I was continuing what I was doing 5 years ago, psychology. Well, 5 years ago is more like psychology and personality type and human behavior. And now I've kind of flipped it a little bit, still a little bit of that, but not 100%, more of stories. What? Hurry.
When, when, what, can you look up?
Sorry. So, anyways, the stories can be anything. This one's a true crime story that happened to my friend, and um, it doesn't have to be true crime. I tell my story. It does have to do a little bit with crime. It had to deal with me ending up in court and everything. But I thought we'd have dinner and a story. So, strap in, grab your dinner. Let's eat and tell a story. So, my parents in 1991, when I was 10 years old, we ended up moving, kind of to New Mexico for a while, only for a couple of months. I only lived in New Mexico for a couple of months. And then we came back to Utah and we came to Salt Lake. And we moved into a duplex, if you know what a duplex is. So it's, or a townhome. You can call them townhomes. So it's just two homes that share that one center wall. And so to get to the duplexes, so you pulled in the driveway, and then there was a 14-step staircase going up to a porch, and then you walk across the porch, and then there's the front door. So the other duplex, same thing, 14 stairs up. They walk this way, you walk that way, and go to your doors. So you walk up the stairs. There's a window that looks into the kitchens, and then the door. And when you walk in the door, kitchen's to your left, living room's to the right. There's like a middle divider that holds your laundry room. So your laundry room's in your dining room technically. I never thought about that growing up, but yeah, our laundry room is in our dining room. So in 1982, a man named Heinz Poika, well, in the early 80s, late 70s, early 80s, he was living in Germany. And I don't know the whole story why this happened, but Heinz ended up leaving Germany with his 3 kids, but not his wife. Now, I don't know why his wife didn't want to come to America, but she didn't. They did go, they did, he did, I know that he did. He went back to Germany every September-ish, when the fall started. He would go back for like, I think 3 or 6 weeks, I can't remember. He would go back to Germany and he would see his wife and everything. And because he was holding dual citizenship. He did become a citizen here and worked in America, but he didn't let go of his German citizenship either. Now, when he came to America, something went wrong, and he got all 3 of his kids taken away from him. I don't know exactly what went wrong. Now, the 2 older ones were kind of mad at this. They blamed their father, and they really didn't see their father much, care about their father much. from 1991 to my parents lived there up until like 3 years ago or something. Anyways, the whole time, every time Heinz would go to Germany, his daughter Heike would come over and take care of the house. And the other two, like during the course of the couple of decades my parents lived there, we only saw the other siblings 2 or 3 times. Like, hardly ever. Now, Heike was less judgmental. She didn't hold anything against her dad for what happened. And she continued not only to see him, so this is how I met Heike, was, so Heike, when she was really young, 18ish or so, I don't know, she was really young, she had her first child, Russell. We called him Rusty. He prefers to be called Rusty. And she was having a good life. She was doing really good. But I think her husband or something cheated on her. Things started going downhill and didn't go well. And then she had her second child, Brittany, with another man. And Russell and Brittany, they both came out like blonde-haired, blue-eyed, like Germans can be blonde-haired, blue-eyed. Both of them came out blonde-haired, blue-eyed. Heike wasn't. Heike was a brunette, actually. Heike lost custody of her first 2 children to Brittany's father's parents. So, even though Rusty wasn't theirs, they took him in. So they took in the 2 oldest ones. Heike would go on to have 2 more children, brunettes. She would tell you, she would say to you that that was the daughter that looked like her. She lost custody of those 2 kids too. She lost custody of those 2 also. And she was really upset about, well, I mean, of course, losing custody of all 4 of her kids, but, I mean, especially the daughter that looked like her. She would often talk about the daughter that looked like her. But those 2 kids, I think they moved far away and didn't really talk to their mom. And Russell and Brittany stayed in Utah. And I met them because one summer when Heinz was gone to Germany, Russell and Brittany stayed there. And that's how I met those 2 kids. We had quite a summer of fun. I could tell some stories of that summer of fun. Now, I had a 5th child. Ashley. And her father went to prison and didn't really care much about her. That was the only child that Heike kept custody of, was Ashley. When Ashley was 3, Heike moved in next door with Heinz. These houses were only 2 bedrooms. They were tiny. They were small. But for 3 years, Heike lived next door to me. For 3 years. If I was in the kitchen or the living room, and all of a sudden you hear the knock, knock, knock on the window, you knew it was Heike out having a smoke and she wanted someone to talk with. And in my junior year of high school, when I started homeschooling and I quit going to high school, I'd go over to her house every morning for morning coffee, study for my GED, whatnot. there was this family across the street lived in this other duplex across the street, and they had 4 children. And her sister occasionally lived with her, and she had a child. And I would babysit anywhere from a couple of the children to all of them to all 5 of them for like a good 5 years. I was their babysitter. They would call on me, I'd go babysit. And me and Heike and those neighbors, we all made really good friends. And it was funny, one night was Becky was out of town to Montana because that's where Mike's family lived. And Julie, the one who had the one child, was supposed to be watching all 5 children. And I can't remember why late at night, like 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night, why I went over there, why I ended up over at this house. But they're like, dude, Rose, Heinz is in Germany, but he took down, he took the odometer down before he left because he wanted to know if Heike was driving his car. And she's like, we'll drive there, and then we'll, like, drive backwards all the way home, and it'll, like, erase the mileage off the car. Like, they were funny like that. We had, like, many moments, like, for the 3 years that Heike lived next door to me, I babysat Ashley often, too. And, one time, me and my friend Sheena took Ashley to the mall, and so we're like 15 years old or something like that. I don't know, like we're young, okay? And we told Ashley for the fun of it to call us Mom. And in the elevator, she tapped on Sheena and she's like, Mom. And these people are like, oh. Like this 15-year-old's got this 3-year-old tapping on her saying Mom. It was great. We had great fun. We went to the Marriott Hotel because it was in the mall. And we were sitting there doing our makeup in the mirror, whatever, just looking in the mirror. All of a sudden, we look down into the mirror because you're looking in the mirror and you can see the stalls behind you. And there's 3-year-old Ashley, and she's kicking a foot. And you're like, doing this double take going, holy crap, there's a body in the stall. We ran out. I ran straight to the front desk. And then we ran back to the bathroom. I mean, we weren't gone like only a couple of minutes. And, well, she was gone. So we don't know if she woke up and was like, oh, I'm in a bathroom stall. Wow. And gone up and left. It was great. Like, we had lots of fun. Heike had kind of a troubled life. She was very boy crazy. Well, she's a woman, so do you call it boy crazy when they're a woman? She would date around. She would have parties. She actually had a party once, and she was naked and everything. She came out in the middle of the party naked. My brother, one of my brothers ended up, well, hope I don't have to spell it out. She was just out there, kind of crazy. She lived a wild life. She drank, she partied. She loved the 49ers, okay? Nobody goes against her team, okay? You don't say anything bad about her team, okay? You don't, okay? You just don't, okay? It's off limits, okay? She was the hugest 49ers fan I ever met. I mean, there for a while, me and my friends, we pretended to be 49er fans, just because of her, just because. And that was it. Like, support your friend. Support your team. And, I mean, that was one of the things you knew right off the bat about Heike. She always wore her jersey. She wore a jersey a lot. She watched the game. She watched the games every Sunday, Monday, whatnot. And she talked about them often. Well, so years go by. Heike, she ends up getting with this guy Bob. He had, I don't know, 3 or 4 kids. I can't remember. I mean, he had a few kids, okay? And there was nothing wrong with that. And Ashley at this time was heading into her preteens. And sorry. Being a dropper. So yeah, Ashley at this time was heading into her preteens when Heike married Bob and moved in with Bob. She didn't really totally stop her kind of party wildlife, but she kind of didn't put it fully on hold either. But she did kind of try to settle down and be with Bob, and I think that lasted like, I don't know, 6 or something years. I visited their house a couple times because they moved to an area called Glendale, which in our part of Salt Lake, we lived in Rose Park, and well, Rose Park was rumored to be bad. Well, people in Rose Park talk about Glendale like that was rumored to be bad. Okay. Rose Park was nothing compared to Glendale. I remember one day Bob came over. I think Heinz was in Germany. He asked me if I had seen Heike. I said I hadn't seen Heike in a while, you know. She moved away. I mean, I only saw her the times I ended up in Glendale, which was not very often. And Bob said that she just disappeared. And he came back like a week later with a truck of her stuff. And he said, you know, Rose, he's like, I don't know what to do anymore besides we'll just bring her stuff to her dad's house. So Bob dropped his stuff off. I guess Heike decided to go back to that party life. I don't know. And at this time, Ashley was starting to become a little bit of a troubled teen. At 14, Ashley got pregnant with her first child. The father, of course, was now not interested. I don't even know if she knew who the father was. I think she did. But that boy bounced around from home to home. Like, Ashley didn't have custody of him. And then, when she was 16, she got pregnant with another child. And that was about the time I started having my kids again, Aurora and Wesley. I remember Heike telling me, what do you need? Hold on. You're pushing against my chair. What do you need? So, I couldn't get pregnant for 7 years. And then I got pregnant with my daughter, and then I had to quit breastfeeding her at 5.5 months old because 4.5, 5 months old because she did not like warm breast milk. She liked room temperature or colder milk. She actually liked cold milk. She did not like, it would give her an upset stomach and she would cry all the time. So we just started giving her lukewarm formula. Sensitive formula. Anyways, I remember I got pregnant with Wesley when Aurora was 6 months old. Now that it wasn't planned at all. I didn't know I could get pregnant. I didn't know I can get pregnant so fast.
Why can you build anti-construction? Build anti-construction. Construction.
Okay.
But that's wrong.
It's a big word.
Yeah.
So anyways, I remember Heike telling me that it was reckless to be. She wasn't happy that I was pregnant with Wesley. Well, I had a 6-month-old baby. And I was thinking in my mind going, your daughter's 16 and she has 2 kids. And you're telling an adult me that's married what's right and wrong about having kids? I'm like, whatever, Heike. But she had that kind of personality. She had that kind of personality where she was kind of tough and she spoke what she wanted to speak. She never let anybody push her around or tell her what to do. I don't know what happened to Ashley's second child. I don't know who. And then, by the time she's 18, by the time Ashley's 18, she's got 3 children, all boys. Her kids are all over the place because they've been taken away from her. She doesn't have custody of any single one of her kids. Heike is back to running around and doing whatever she wants. Partying, whatever. Living with whoever, whatever. So Ashley is living with this one guy in Rose Park. Not too far from my parents' house. Just a little ways down the street. Like, a little over a mile down the street. And she is pregnant with her 4th baby. Now, Heike's sister, she actually started coming around a little bit more. And, Heike's sister's married to this lawyer. I mean, she's well off. She lives in American Fork or Provo or something like that. Hey, yikes factory. Life's good. Very good. So, anyways, if you know anything about Utah and the suburbs and the cities, if you live in American Fork, Provo, in those areas, you're generally very religious, probably a little uptight, and you got money, okay? You got money, okay? The poor people don't move to Provo and American Fork, okay? This isn't the only murder story to come around that area. Technically, the murder didn't happen in Provo. So anyways, Heike's sister's daughter, her and her husband can't get pregnant. They can't have kids. Well, Ashley's pregnant with her 4th. Well, God knows where the other 3 are. I think one of them somehow, I don't know if it was with Heike or eventually ended up with Heike. But, I mean, she has 3 boys she doesn't have custody of. So Ashley does the right thing. She tells her cousin, that she's going to give the baby up for, she's going to give her up for adoption, give her to her cousin. So not only is she giving up the baby for adoption, but she's giving it to her cousin, so the baby's staying in the family. So the baby will get to know the mother. Plus, Ashley has been being a very, very naughty little girl. She has been, her and her buddies have been driving up to Idaho, getting these 15, 16, 17-year-old girls, underage, bringing them across state lines to Utah, and has been prostituting them out. Her and 7 other people have been just kidnapping people and bringing them to Utah, which, you know, crossing state lines, huge federal crime. Well, they get caught while Ashley's pregnant. They got caught. So, Ashley's facing 10 years. 10 years, okay? 10 years in prison. for what she's surprisingly only 10 years.
Mommy,
What?
I'm hungry.
You want some for my dinner?
I want one of those.
Well, either we unscrew this or you get a quarter. Go see if there's a quarter in Aurora's room. I saw one earlier. I want to try a quarter on it.
What? 7
So,
This
come
one's
on, I'm
open.
telling a story, bud. So, anyways, we're getting to the good part. We are. Give me a second. We're getting there.
When I checked the was it's not there.
So, Kate, Colin, go. I gotta tell my story. So right now, I mean, at least Ashley's doing the right thing, right? Okay, so I was walking up the staircase, and I saw Ashley, and she was 8 months pregnant, and I was talking to her about her giving the baby up for adoption and how good that was. I mean, she didn't even have custody of her other 3 kids. She's facing, well, this time I didn't even know she was facing prison time. I didn't find out about that for a couple more weeks, not until all the stuff went down. But, I mean, I just thought it was good that, I mean, she was keeping the baby in the family. And this was a well-off family, okay? This wasn't just, this baby wasn't going to go to a bad home and God knows what was going to happen to it, okay? This baby was going to have a good home. It was going to know its biological grandma. It was going to know its biological mother. Okay, I will in a minute. Let me tell my story. And then I will. Ouch. So, I'm almost done, okay? Okay, I'm almost done. They won't eat their it's just whatever. So anyways, Heike, this is where the story gets real screwed up. This is where the story goes off the rails and gets real screwed up, okay? So Ashley's about to have this baby. And her friends, why do people got to do this, When somebody makes a good decision like this, a damn good decision like this, butt out. It's not your life, okay? Because this is what you caused, okay? By changing the course and putting that fork in the road and telling them to go down another way, okay? This is what happened because of what you did. I don't know who did this, but I'm mad at you, and this is what you did, and this is what you caused by what you did, okay? So Ashley's about to have the baby, and her friends tell her, look, it's a girl. Keep it. You want it because it's a girl. Not because she wants a baby. Not because she's going to give it a good life, because she's going to prison for 10 years, okay? Remember that. Because it's a girl, it deserves to be kept. So Heike decides, fine, Ashley, I will take the baby for you while you go to prison. And when 10 years, when you get out and your daughter's 9, 10 years old, you can have her back. And that's if, Ashley goes and decides to have a regular, normal life after she gets out. So Heike moves into Ashley. Ashley goes to jail. She has the baby. She goes to jail. Heike takes custody of the baby. She quits sleeping around. She quits partying. She's done. Heike is done with that life. It is over. She calls Rusty. She calls Brittany. She says, I want to be in your lives. I want to meet your kids. I want to be a grandma. I want to be a good person now. I'm done, and I'm going to raise this baby girl for Ashley. All because it's a girl. Well, I don't know exactly how this happened, but they let the cousin at least have partial custody of the girl. So the baby occasionally is going over to the cousin's house for like 3 or 4 days, and then they'll return the baby to Heike. And Heike moved into whatever house Ashley was living with, whatever guy she was living with that she wasn't dating, that I don't know how Ashley met this guy. But so this guy is from California. He's got schizophrenia. His parents are scared of him. They don't like their own son. So they send him to Utah. They buy him a house to keep him away from them because he's scary. So, anyways, Heike moves in with this schizophrenic, crazy guy and decides to live a normal life. Well, when the baby, Lyric, that's what they named the baby girl, Lyric, like Amore or some weird, a weird name. I don't. I didn't get the name, but sure. It's really spelled weird too, like Lyrik or something, like spelled really weird. So, anyways, Heike drops the 2-month-old baby off at the cousins. A couple days go by. Heike goes to get meet them to go get the baby. They don't show up. They decided to keep the baby. And they didn't care what Heike thought. They were going to keep the baby. Well, it took Heike 4 days to figure out where the baby was. She called the cops. She got the girl hid out at her mom's house. That, if you want to go hide a baby, go into your mom's house, the baby grandma's sister's, house. Yep. That wasn't a smart place. So, Heike gets the cops and she goes over to her sister's house and gets the baby. 4 days later, so this schizophrenic guy, I don't know exactly what was said between. Obviously, he did still talk to his parents in California. They still did have a connection with him. And also, they still tried to rule his life. Now, I don't know why he was talking about. I don't know how the conversation went, whether, like, maybe he didn't like Heike and the baby living there and he told his mom that. Because the mom told him to evict Heike. And Heike had brought an extra friend in. And the friend was just staying for a couple of days. And the mom was telling him, you need to evict them. Well, one day, it's really sad. Heike was on Facebook. Boop, boop, boop. I'm updating my happy status. Boop, boop, boop. 45 minutes later, it was all over. The schizophrenic guy came in the living room, shot the friend. Heike panics. So according to the cops, Heike panics, takes off, he fires, and it hits her in the leg, and he fires again, and as she falls, it hits her in the back, and he fires again, and as she falls, it hits her in the head. And then you can imagine a 2-month-old baby crying and being upset at everything that's going on. And he goes up to the 2-month-old baby, right in the head, and it's all over. He's evicted them. But he doesn't know what to do with the bodies. So he gets a couple tarps and he covers up the bodies, and he's sitting at home, sitting there going, what do I do with these bodies? Well, Ashley's first son, the oldest one, was coming home from school at 4 o'clock. He was standing outside the school, and at 4:30, somebody found the boy standing in front of the school and said, what are you doing? And, well, Grandma didn't come get me. Poor little kid. Watching and waiting. Grandma's going to be here any minute now. Grandma always picks me up at 4 o'clock. Well, for 2 hours, people are trying to find this little boy's house where he lives. They call the cops. They finally find the house. The cops look in the window. They see the tarps. They see the bodies. They knock on the door. The guy immediately, the schizophrenic immediately admits up to everything. Everything. He said, "Go call my mom in California. It's all her fault. She told me to evict them. She was telling me to get rid of them. They wouldn't leave." Because I can imagine Heike being like, telling your mom to shut up and whatever. It's none of your mom's business. She lives in California, blah, blah, blah. Like, I can totally imagine Heike, being hard to evict. She's got two of Ashley's kids she's taking care of. And she's not going to be displaced right now. She's not talking to her dad, or she would have came and moved in with her dad. But she hadn't been talking to her dad for a year and a half. I can't remember what her and Heinz got in a fight over, but she's like, not calling my dad. She could have called her dad. So that night, after the news there, everybody's there. It's on TV. The cousin sees this and says, "Oh my gosh, that's Heike's address." And he calls Heinz and says, "Heinz, get over to Heike's house now. The cops are there. They're saying there's people there that are dead. This isn't good. Get over there." And as Heinz was walking down those stairs, my parents were walking up, and Heinz mumbled something. My parents didn't understand. They called me and they're like, "Well, Heinz is mumbling something about Heike might not be okay or whatever." Well, I got a call from my mom the next morning and said, "Okay, well, it turns out Heike's not okay. She's probably dead." I had to call my brothers. I remember calling David. I said, "David," I said, "I got to tell you something." I said, "We're not 100% this is, but it's pretty much true. It's all over the news." And I said, it took me a minute because I was like, I don't want to say the words, but I finally said, I said, "Heike is dead." And then I couldn't stop saying it. I said, "She's dead, she's dead, she's dead." And my brother's like, "What?" And I said, "She's dead. Heike's dead. I said she's dead. I said Heike's dead." And I kept repeating it like I couldn't stop saying it. I couldn't stop spitting out of my mouth that she was dead. Because that was the first time I spoke those words, was on the phone to my brother. I mean, I talked to my mom, but I didn't say she, you know. And finally to my brother, I'm like, she's just dead, okay? She's dead. It took him a couple weeks to release the bodies for the funeral. Rusty, being the oldest son, Heike had no will. Rusty was the oldest son. So all the funeral arrangements went to Rusty, which I happily helped him out on, because I told him, I said, first of all, don't bury your mother in a dress. I said, I said, only once in my life have I seen your mother wear a dress. And she was just trying them on for the fun of it with Julie that night that I was babysitting and they went driving the car backwards. That's the only time I've ever seen Heike even. I mean, Heike didn't wear, she didn't wear dresses. I said, bury her in her 49s. I said, because there's nothing else better for her to be buried in. I said, bury her in her 49ers. And Rusty had to set up where the funeral was going to be and everything. And I didn't know if I wanted to go to the viewing or not, because I haven't seen many dead bodies in my life, and I don't like seeing them. I'm scared of seeing them. Well, I made it to the viewing 15 minutes. I'm glad I went though, because I made it to the viewing 15 minutes prior. They gave the viewing ending, and my mom was on her way, and I called my mom and I said, don't come to the viewing. Don't. I said, I walked in there. I said, they're not buried in separate caskets. I said, Heike's holding the baby in her arms. I said, she's in the casket and the baby's in her arms. I said, don't. I said, no, this is not the last memory you want of Heike. I said, don't do it. I had my son take a picture, but somebody was standing in front of the casket, and that's the way I wanted it. I was talking to Rusty, and all you could kind of do is see the top of her bleach blonde hair coming out of the casket a little bit. But I mean, I don't take pictures of people in caskets. I'll take pictures of their caskets, but not them in it, because that I don't want to. It's already embedded in my brain. I don't need to actually see it in a picture. And when I see that picture, it just, it brings back the memory. And it's funny, my mom didn't know because that they basically after the viewing they closed the casket and they wheeled it in to the gym, and they had a bunch of chairs set up for people to sit. And seeing how I mean, Heike had such a wild and crazy life, and she didn't have a will or anything. I'm glad Rusty decided to go this route, but he decided that it was an open mic, and I had been sitting there thinking of all the things I wanted to say. And as soon as they opened the mic up, I gave it like a couple seconds. I was like, you know, what? I gotta do this.
By the way,
What?
also when you're done doing
Give me 5 more minutes. I'm almost done, but you keep bothering me.
but if you're done with the doing enough your dory, can you please also oil chorus?
Get out, and I will, or I won't. So, anyways, oh, I was so jittery. And I was glad nobody really knew what to do at an open mic funeral. And so I got up first, and I got up there and I gave this long 15 minute talk. Half the stuff I told you, I gave memories of, Heike living next door to her, babysitting Ashley, the summer me and Russell kissed under a car, laying in a grease filled driveway underneath some old Cadillac or something. All the things we used to do, and funny stories about Heike and everything. And that got everybody loosened up, which was nice. I got everybody loosened up, and everybody got up there, told their stories. I sat there and listened to people that I didn't know that they knew Heike talk about Heike and everything. And I mean, one of the biggest things that everybody talked about at the funeral is, yeah, she's a 49ers fan. They buried her in her white jersey, which was nice, the white jersey with red lettering. So, it still kind of looked, nice because it was the white one, which was nice. And, it was a beautiful funeral. A year and a little over almost a year and a half later, her father was buried next to her. He died of a stroke. My dad found him. My dad called me and said, "Hey, it's snowing outside. Heinz is not shoveling. I want to check on him, but his door's locked." And I said, the kitchen window, I said, it never locks. I said, just slide it open. But yeah, you know, this story is just so hard, like I said, because Ashley was going down a good road. She was going to keep the baby in the family. She was going to give it to her cousin, a good home. The baby would have grew up, hopefully, in that home. She came from a good family. But her friends and people said, no, it's a girl. You need to keep it. And I know how that feeling is. People convincing you to have a baby just so you can have a girl, you know? People convincing you to do something that you're not sure you want to do because, well, you deserve a girl, right? Or vice versa, a boy. Some people, I've seen people have 5 kids and end up with 5 girls and no boys, and they just want that opposite sex so bad that they'll do anything for it, anything, including raising her from. Well, and they let Ashley go to the funeral on. They gave her a 48-hour ankle monitor and let her go because it was not only her mother but her daughter, you know. And she was, wow, her mood was up and down at the funeral. She was running out of the viewing, screaming and crying. She was outside laughing and joking when people asked her if she's going to prison. She's like, "Oh, it's all cool. It's all bad. I'm bad. I'm rocking prison." And so, maybe you should have in that other home because this story wouldn't have happened. Heike would have continued living where she was living. She wouldn't have moved in with the schizophrenic. And they said that it would take 8 years to take him to trial. He had to go through all kinds of testing and stuff. That's when I was 6 months pregnant with this guy, who is 6 years old now. I was scared to go to the funeral because first I was told Heike was killed over a baby, that they were fighting over a baby, and I was pregnant, and I was like, do I want to go to the funeral where my friend died because they were fighting over a baby? The baby was half the problem. The fighting over the baby. Like I said, had the cousin just been given custody, there would have been no fighting over the baby. Heike would have never moved in there. They would have gone down the road they were going down, but they forked when Ashley got guilted into keeping the girl. That she wasn't going to get to see her first, or raise her, or teach her to talk, or teach her anything. By the time you're 6 years old, your personality is 75% set. By the time she gets out of prison and gets to meet her daughter, her personality type is 75% there and had nothing to do with the mother. But had they done the other thing, and I shouldn't rant on this too long because, I mean, it's none of my business. They did what they did, and this is what happened. This was the result. But had the cousin had the baby was still in the family. Heike was still going to get to know the granddaughter. Ashley was still gonna get to know her daughter. It, it was staying in the family. And so that's the hardest part about the story. It's not like she was giving it up to a random person and having that clause in there that you can't meet the kid until it's 18. There's nothing like that. You know, it was a full open adoption to a family member. While she was, it you know, because the kid deserved a good home while her mom was in prison for prostituting teenagers from out of state. So yeah, that's my story. I hope you guys enjoyed my dinner and a story. I think I might do dinner and a story more. But like I said, what I want to focus on is not famous people, regular people's lives. Because just because you're not famous doesn't mean you don't matter. You matter. Your story matters. Email me at talkwithrose16 at gmail.com. Email me your story. I'll be glad to tell your story. If you don't want the real names discussed, give me fake names, whatever. Um, if you don't mind real names being used, then give me real names. But whatever your story is, I would love to tell it. And so, please follow my channel, subscribe, like, share, and, you know, let's support the regular people out there. You're, like I said, you don't have to be famous for your story to matter, for your whatever story it is. Because when you hear a story about, oh, did you know what this famous person, like, grew up with, or what happened to them, and you care so much. But that stuff happens to regular people all the time. And so, yeah, thank you for watching my channel. I appreciate it.